Welcome to Business Class. I'm Steve Ekstrom from Learn Tourism, a nonprofit academy dedicated to advancing the tourism industry through innovative training and sustainable practices. Our mission? To empower travel professionals and communities with the knowledge they need to create meaningful, authentic, and sustainable tourism experiences. Ready to join us on this journey? Visit learntourism.org and start making a difference today.
My name's Tim Crouson. I'm our director of research here at Destination Ann Arbor. I've been here 8 years in November. I worked through various roles in the organization to the one I'm at now.
Excellent. And our other guest, Sarah?
Uh, Hello, thank you for having me. I am Sarah Miller, President and CEO of Destination Ann Arbor. I have been here now 23 years. I started with this organization maybe in its infancy, and I can say I probably grew up with it. When I started in this organization, we were 7 staff members and a budget of just about $1 million. We're now up to about 22 staff and about a $7.5 million budget. Literally grew up with the organization's kind of fun to see.
Sarah, in what ways has the organization's growth mirrored your own?
So many. Really seeing all of it. It's funny. Tim and I actually have a lot in common that way. And Tim started in this organization about the same age I did, I think, as an intern. It's fun maybe to see myself reflected a little bit with Tim and starting in that younger age in an organization and just feeling your way through as you start your career, learning the ropes, if you will. And when you're starting in an organization who already had quite a good reputation in this community, my predecessor had done an amazing job with that, and learning from her and what the community had already started with our organization and just building on that as our assets grew and as our budget was able to grow. It was a great building block. And as I matured and as the organization matured, being able to build on that was great.
Tim, what's been your best day at work so far?
My best day at work so far. There's been so many. I think my best day at work right now, we're doing a football economic impact study. So it's been fun to just be in the stadium a couple weekends, being on the clock to go and hang out at a Michigan football game. You can't really complain about that too much. So that's been a fun thing to do. Just, I think, getting to see all the different events that take place and getting to really have an understanding of how much our community benefits from different things that come here and how much our local and small business really do have such a big part in why people want to come here. I think getting to see that firsthand makes every day great.
Sarah, what's something about you that would probably surprise most of the people on your staff?
I don't know, Tim. We should ask Tim that question. I'm a pretty open book for the most part. I try not to keep too much from them. I think they know me fairly well, those that have been around for a little bit. So I don't think there's too much that surprises them at this point. Yeah, I don't know. I think they know me as pretty competitive as the most part. There's a bottle of wine that I can't show you because it has some explicitives in it, but it's pretty true to my nature, which is just get your stuff done. And that's pretty much true. We just like to get our stuff done, but we have fun doing it.
Tim, she said it's going to be on you. What's something about you that would surprise most people?
I was talking about me that would surprise most people. For Sarah, I was going to say that she loves a marching band. Sarah loves a marching band. Yeah, I think for me, it'd be pretty, gosh, it's a hard question. Oh, something I think that would surprise a lot of people.
I know.
Go
We
ahead.
should answer this. We should answer this question for each other.
Yeah, might be better.
That might be better because you're right. Marching band for me is true. Maybe I'm a nerd at heart. That's probably a pretty good one.
True.
Yeah, I'm a true nerd at heart. I love data. I'm a nerd. For Tim, awesome tennis star.
Oh,
I do a lot of stuff with tennis. Yeah. So right now, I do a lot of volunteering with our local tennis board. I serve as the president of that in my free time. So that also is another big part of my life right now.
very nice. Sarah, do you play any sports or
Play or am I
anything?
good at, Stephen? There's a big difference there. I play all games. I will try everything all the time, no matter what it is. Am I good at it? Yeah. Right now, I love golf. I'm playing a lot of golf. I can hold my own. Let's say that. I can hold my own as an athlete. I was an athlete in school growing up. Basketball was my passion that I was fairly decent at. Maybe some would say good. But other than that, I just like to play all things.
I would say somebody asked me the other day if I would join a golf tournament, and I said only if it has windmills. because the extent of my golf experience is putt.
We can all play
Oh,
that version. I
but
can't
yes,
play the other version
yes,
either.
yeah.
Exactly. I
Well,
think more of those fundraisers should be mini golf just because it's just more accessible to everybody.
You would find me at any mini golf fundraiser. I would happily show up to that. But if you ask me to go to a golf outing, it's not happening.
I think you're onto something. Mini golf would be a lot of fun. I
So,
would totally do that.
There you go. There's your next fundraiser.
that's right.
So, Sarah, what's something that you're most proud of that your team has accomplished in the last, say, year or so?
So much. I think that after COVID, it decimated the industry, but it decimated the morale in our team. We had to lay off more than half our team. We lost our leader at that time to retirement. We had to do a complete rebuild. And it was time for us to have a fresh look at our organization. We took that opportunity to do that. We were able to do that together as a team with a new leader, new leadership, and we did it all together, I think. I feel that we did. Listening to our team, talking to all of us, I think we built our team up with their strengths to their capabilities. I feel like we've got a solid team moving forward that can really accomplish some really great things. I'm really excited to see what we can do coming in these next coming years. We've built a solid strategic plan. We're in the middle of going into year 2 that I think that we have some solid action plan items that we're going to be accomplishing here in the next year or 2. We've got the talent to do it, and I'm really excited to see what's going to be accomplished in the next 2 years.
Tim, if you had to describe the culture at your organization, how would you describe it in one word?
Fun. I
Right.
would say one of the things that I'm always saying is that tourism should be fun. That, the work that we do is really geared toward people having great visitor experiences. We know that people will travel for all sorts of purposes, but the majority of people are traveling either for business or for leisure, just to enjoy their time in the destination. And so the work that we do, the way we communicate with people should really that. And I think the culture here, it's like an outpouring of what we experience internally every day.
One of the themes that has floated to the top in the last couple of years is values visitors, not just the visitor who brings the most value to the community, but a visitor who shares your community values. Sarah, what would that ideal visitor look like to you?
Definitely true to our community. Sustainability is probably one of our top community priorities. E20 is a community priority here with zero carbon emissions in our community by 2030. That is something. So sustainability is a huge priority. And I know sustainable tourism is also, so that sustainable tourism traveler would be ideal to come to Ann Arbor. Sports tourism, obviously, with the University of Michigan in our backyard, go blue. But we have some other great universities with our Eastern Eagles as well, right here next door in Ypsilanti. So that is definitely something. And we're just an overall highly cultured destination with arts and culture, some great venues for that here all throughout our county, truly with Purple Rose Theater. We have the ARC, the level of artists and performances, performing arts that we have, the galleries that we have, the restaurants that we have. It's almost endless when you can come in and think of the type of visitor that we can attract. Being not a Chicago, not a New York, but yet the same level, I would say, of the attractive features that we have in our destination can rival any of those in many aspects.
So, Sarah, you mentioned being a nerd, and I am also a proud nerd. I'm a collector of nerds. I tell people, Tim, what is something that you would nerd out about?
Oh, I nerd out every single day at my desk. I always like to see what I think is coming next. I'm scraping like every news website every single day to see where are we getting mentioned somewhere? Is there something new that's getting built or developed? I think that development's really interesting, especially when you're in a county and you have all these different communities and townships here. I think that what comes through in development and through planning is really interesting to see how does that shape the direction that a community is trying to go for you to better understand what actually is happening there.
Sarah, what's something you're looking to learn this year?
I don't stop learning. I take it as it comes. And to Tim's point, research has been a major focus for us in the last year. And we've just recently started data collecting, and it's been a data dump with Tim's position as our research director. He's got such a great knack for that. We tend to tangent on our data nerd talks a lot. Yeah, a lot, sometimes a little too long, but we're really starting to refine some of that data. So that's been a lot of fun. Just anything data related. We just focus all those things and trying to get to that point of not overloading the data because we tend to like to do that, but getting to that point of what is it everybody else wants to know? I want to give you what makes sense to you, that's informative and impactful for you. And that means something different for everyone. So how much more can I learn about that in different groups, in different ways to feed information to different people? I want to learn about, oh gosh, it's endless. I like to learn new things all the time as much as I can. I don't think I can't tell you enough of anything. And if you tell me, bring up a topic, I'll say, oh, that's interesting. Let's learn about that. Just name it.
We have that in common. It took me a long time to realize that my hobby is learning. And
Yes.
to your point, when something seems interesting, I'm a digital nomad. So if I see something that looks interesting or a place that looks interesting, I add a pin to my map and then I play a big game of connect the dots. I like to learn about everything and every place and the different cultures. And it's been really exciting. What is something that you've learned from the data that surprised you?
Surprise me, or I'm still learning and diving into it. I get skeptical because as a Gen Xer, I tend to be a skeptic data diver. So when I get into the data, I question if what I'm seeing, and which that also sometimes leads into these tangents, into these maybe longer questions. Because I'm sitting there going, okay, I see this data, but maybe does it really add up? Some of these things I'm seeing don't really make sense, and that I can poke holes into some of this. I know that no data is perfect, and I have a hard time with that because to me it's numbers, and numbers should be black and white, not gray. And then we get into a whole nother conversation, and then so you see this like whole tumbling of information. So yes, that gets tricky with my skepticism. So, yeah, that's hard.
I think too, one of the things that we've done a lot of is just trying to learn how to really intermix those different data sources together, that we've kept it so siloed for so long that trying to branch together what's going on in hotels versus what's going on with visitors who are coming, and do those actually match up? Those kinds of things I think have been a really big eye opener for us, and something that we're continuing to work toward is making sure that our data is fluid enough that it can be understandable to any kind of audience. But also what Sarah was mentioning about how she likes to poke holes or ask questions. I think just the more we get into it, the better we're getting at being able to fully understand what's actually being presented to us and understanding those methodologies a little bit better, because companies can do the same things, but they have different ways of doing it. We've taken a lot of intentional time to understand what our vendors are actually doing and how they operate and how they count things to make sure that we're actually giving our stakeholders our best knowledge.
I think that's the point that, yeah, Tim and I work so well together, is that we sit there and do that back and forth so that we know that those numbers can be as black and white as possible. So we're sitting there having those conversations and getting into that skepticism of those numbers to make sure that they can match up and be as black and white as possible.
Sarah, you mentioned sustainability. What does sustainability feel like to you?
Sustainability for me, like what the plan that's going on in the community with the zero, an effort toward recycling, like low hanging fruit. Are there bins that people can recycle their stuff as you're walking through a downtown area? Are people being responsible with the way that they space out their businesses and being able to spread out? And are we making the most use of the space that we have in the community to be able to have as many people responsibly here as possible?
And Sarah, for you, what's a sustainability initiative you'd like to see implemented in the coming couple of years?
That's something we're working on as part of our strategic plan going forward. But overall, I'd like to see that, as Tim mentioned, a little bit more placed in our hospitality industry and our hotel partners, our restaurants in the same situation. Are we recycling as much as we can? Can we implement any more green initiatives that we could possibly do? Our city is certainly helping with some of that. I'd like to see all of our partners embrace that as much as they can. And if we can be a part of that, I would love for us to do that as well.
What is your favorite quote?
I'll go first. So mine, it's from the movie Up. And it's toward the beginning of the movie, not the really sad part of the movie. But they say adventure is out there. I think that is something that I think about often about why would you not try to go after something, or why would you not be willing to at least try something once and see where it could lead to?
I haven't really thought much about that. I think there's two things that come to mind and something, Stephen, you said, but I always say when everybody says, how are you doing? I always say, living the dream. Sometimes it's a positive and sometimes it's just the day. So maybe that. The other one is probably something I try to strive for. I was a little late to the party on the Ted Lasso show. I just finished watching that. So I think I'm trying to embrace being a goldfish. That whole quote, be a goldfish.
I'm not familiar with Ted Lasso, so what does that mean?
Oh my gosh, I highly recommend it. I loved it. Oh, I was late to the party. Everybody talked about it, raved about it. And I can't tell you, I'm in that camp. You have to watch it. It's such a motivating show. It's just forget it and move on. Not all the bad stuff needs to sit on your shoulders. Goodness. Don't carry it with you.
What is something, Sarah, that you wish you knew at the beginning of your career that you embrace now?
Oh, gosh. Probably something similar to that. My emotional IQ is probably through the charts. So I tend to feel and carry things on my shoulders more than probably anybody else does when they interact. When you're having those, especially in the professional world, when there's an interaction, I think in a professional way where maybe I didn't perform early on to the level that I wanted to, and I may have let someone down in some way professionally, not holding up my end of the bargain or not doing the job to the best of my ability, it would weigh on me so bad for so long. And the other person, my boss or whoever it was, probably told me we had that talk and they would tell me I didn't do that great. They were over it. And it sat on me for 3 weeks later. I was still living with it. I wish that I would have learned how to be that goldfish and probably learn from that and move on so that it didn't weigh on me for 3 weeks. It was probably one of those things first.
And you, Tim, what do you look for in a leader at work?
Yeah, I look for somebody who's willing to get in the weeds, who really wants both themselves to be better and also for me to be better, who is willing to have really open and honest, transparent conversation about what's working and what's not. And I think you've heard throughout the conversation here that Sarah and I have talked about that we will sit and dig into data for hours and hours if we could. I think just having a leader that asks challenging questions, I think for some people that can be intimidating. For me, it's a really good way to learn if your leader actually is invested in the conversation.
What did I not ask that you wish I did?
Why should you come to Washtenaw County?
Why should I come to your county?
Tim, you go first.
I think you've heard so far, but we have something for everybody. Whether it's the restaurant scene, the beer and drink scene is really great, but people don't understand the amount of outdoor opportunities that we have here. Washtenaw County is more than just being in downtown Ann Arbor. As you go further into the county, there's trails and parks and just really great opportunities to be in natural resources and really unplug and get away. So if you're looking for that, that's definitely here. There's levels of options for everybody. I think that is one of the things that people don't understand about here.
Good call. I would agree with that and echo that sentiment. There's some serious trails, border to border trail that is all paved and nearly finished throughout the county. It really is a true gem of a destination. And it's fall. It's the best time ever to come to Washtenaw County. It is electric. It's always a fun time to be here, but I can't tell you the electricity to feel when you come to Washtenaw County in the fall. There is just an energy here that is palpable. It's indescribable. You just have to feel it. And it is an amazing energy throughout everything you do. It's positive. It feels incredible and hugely welcoming. You have to be here.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Ooh, I like direct questions.
I heard that about you.
I may be a little bit direct, and sometimes that scares people. Let's see. You've been doing this a long time. Are some things that you've seen in the industry that surprised you?
I'm surprised that it took as long as it did for the industry to realize that it's responsive to the community. It is responsive to just the traveler. I'm a strong believer in do the right thing for the right reason. And it was surprising when I first entered the industry how many people didn't realize what the right reason was behind heads and beds. And it's been great to see that transition and to see organizations adopt that perspective. Another thing that's really surprised me about the industry, and I worked in tourism development for 20 years before switching over to education, the opportunity that we have now and the fact that organizations are now adopting that opportunity to demonstrate their worth and to show the impact of tourism. And I think COVID, for all of its woes, was a gift to the industry in some way in helping to demonstrate our worth to communities. Communities did not realize how much the visitor impacted the economy, the culture, the vibrancy, the sustainability of their communities until all of a sudden it disappeared. I hope that organizations remember that lesson for the long run and we don't resort back to simply heads and beds.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree. And it's an interesting, there is a ripple effect of that too, especially with workforce and different things that changed during that time. And there's even still here in Michigan, at least, some of that is felt with changing legislation that's on the table with tip credits and things of that nature too. And that can be impactful to the hospitality industry. So it's interesting. It is interesting.
If folks want to learn more about visiting your destination, how would they go about doing so?
You can find all about us at www.annarbor.org.
Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for tuning in to Business Class. This episode was brought to you by Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy where we advance the tourism industry with cutting-edge training and sustainable practices. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to visit learntourism.org to learn more about our programs and how you can get involved. Until next time, stay curious, continue learning and making a difference through tourism.